The town of Plainville. Established in 1721 at the geographical center of Connecticut.
Welcome, everybody, to our second installment of discussing Plainville's FY 2022 budget. This evening, we have a number of departments we're going to be looking at, and according to our schedule, we will be looking at roadways first. Robert, would you like to lead off the discussion? And hi, Dominic. Nice to see you, as always.
Yes, certainly. Roadways budget is on F07. Recommended budget totals $801,970. That's a decrease of $3,390. Excuse me. Total budget is $986,561, which is a decrease of $3,390. The reason for the decrease is that there's been some retirements in roadways replaced by entry-level positions, and that's the reason for the decrease in the salary line item. All other items pretty much being equal, other than overtime regular increased a little bit, and overtime snow increased a little bit based upon a 2.5% salary increase generally. You can see some of the roadway overtime down below. Certainly that's a number that really is a, best guess.
Okay. Not much changed here other than salary. Looks like everything else has pretty much remained the same, and a little bit, as you just said, overtime. Does anybody have any questions for the town manager or for Dominic? He's here, so can certainly ask either one of them anything. Robert, I do have a question. Are we going to be discussing the capital portion of the roadways request, or are we going to just leave that until Wednesday?
Tomorrow.
What's your okay?
Tomorrow.
So we're going to do all the capital tomorrow.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Any questions or concerns?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 305 in the amount of $986,561.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item is buildings and grounds under F11. Proposed budget is $1,141,062. It's an increase of $23,920 or 2.14%. Full-time salary, not going up the 2.5% because there was a change in one of the retirements in buildings and grounds, so we hired at a lower level, so that doesn't bring us up to the 2.5%. The part-time salary, in talking to Dave, most of that is summertime help, and Dave feels that he can get by based upon the last couple of years with a little less as far as summertime help is concerned. So that's why the part-time is slated to go down by $4,500. Overtime regular, looking for a relatively large increase of $6,554, and that's based on past history. There's a lot more oversight that they have for special events and summertime coverage as the park is cleaning up on weekends and making sure that the park and the bathrooms stay clean. That is taking some extra time. There's a increase in repairs and maintenance. That's what equipment getting older, and some small increases in auto repair and maintenance and buildings and grounds repair.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions regarding Buildings and Grounds Department? Dave's here in case we need to ask him something. Hi, Dave. Thanks for coming tonight. I have a question regarding overtime. The increase is 6,554, and you said something about special events as a driver to making that change. Is that
That's some of
correct?
it. That's some of it, yes.
So some of our larger events that we've had in the past are probably not going to occur. Is that safe to say? Large gatherings such as balloon festivals, and I'm not sure about the pumpkin.
Yeah.
I would-
Wings
is
and
that
Wheels looks like
generally-
may
go
not
ahead.
happen this year as well, so. Certainly, that could be taken into account if you choose. I think that's only maybe $2,000 or $3,000 total between those two,
Okay,
maybe three, so maybe only give half the increase if you feel that way.
okay.
I will say that we haven't had those events this year, and we're already over budget for this year. So it's not, truly the special events, the 2,000-3,000 like Robert said, but we're already $4,000 over budget this year.
Just for regular overtime
Just for just for
purposes, not for
regular-
anything
Right.
special event.
Right, exactly.
Okay, thank you for the information.
You could see the results in 2020 as well.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 310 in the amount of $1,141,062.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
And Jacob, we did hear you, so.
Okay, good.
Next item is municipal building maintenance, F-15. Recommended budget is $1,604,100. It's an increase of $192,900. Pretty much all of that increase, great majority of that increase has to do with the Valley Water rate hike request, as you see reflected in both water and hydrant buildings, water and hydrant hydrants. So the buildings would cover, things like sprinklers, during the summertime, and, and water usage in the buildings. Any other large users, Dave? Took off already?
He left pretty quickly, I don't know.
Well, he wasn't done, because he does. Anyhow.
Okay, well, I'd like to chat a little bit about the water increase that we have in. I understand that this is based on the request that the Valley Water has put through, which is now being looked at by the agencies. And I would be comfortable reducing that amount instead of the entire $169,000 for both of them. $169 for it's just labeled building, and then there's an increase for the senior center water and hydrant as well.
Well, it's not senior center, it's buildings, all buildings, which is 53551.
And what about 53552?
It's zero. Because we combined everything into one. There's no reason to have a line item for every single building.
All right,
We had senior center there forever, and I really don't know why.
Yeah, there's nothing budgeted there.
Right, so that's zero for this year. The only reason it's still on this page is because there was an actual dollar amount spent in 20. And then 21, we moved it all to the building, the general building account.
okay. So I would like to ask the council to weigh in on the proposal to reduce that amount. I would say reduce it by 40%, assuming I'm going to be thinking that perhaps Valley Water will be granted a 60% increase versus the 100%. There's no way of knowing this, but that would be my proposal. Any thoughts on that?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just a couple of questions. If we make the reduction do we know when a decision would be made? Would it be made by the time we have to set the mill rate? is it possible?
I believe, I mean, I could go in my office and check, but I believe it's a decision has to be made by sometime in May,
Okay.
a recommendation.
So if we reduce it and we ended up reducing it too much, so to speak. through-
Well, if the budget's approved in April, then
Yeah.
you won't be able to increase.
No, I
the
know, and
expenditure.
that's where we would we have to make adjustments on the mill rate at that point, knowing that.
Or just say that,
Or just
just write it out and
wait
see where you
and
end up
see
at the
where
end
we
of the
end at
year. Another option is to, if it becomes known after the budget's passed and before you set the mill rate, you can take it into account when you set the mill rate.
Yep, okay.
You know, you could say, okay, we're going to assume that it's going to be 40,
Right.
we know it's going to
Take
save
out-
40 grand, so we'll lower the mill rate by 40 grand. It's in the expenditure side, but the mill rate's being set based upon, any changes that you know. Either way is certainly acceptable,
Okay.
Okay?
whatever's preferred by the council.
Yep.
Madam Chair, one more question for the manager.
Yeah, of course.
It seems like at some point when I was skimming all those materials from Pura and all that, there was one deadline, when something was going to stay open until some point in May. Just do we have, in other words, do we have any dates or timelines?
I do, I have it in my office.
Okay.
If you want me, I could probably find it in a couple minutes.
It's up to you.
Just,
If it's something that quick, I'm fine with
yeah. If
Yeah.
I know that I did see a date.
If it takes
something
longer than
with a
2 minutes,
deadline
then
or
I-
Sure.
something.
abandon.
That'd be good.
We'll-
It may have
we
been
can
the
get that
docket was
information.
open, but I think, in fact, I thought it was May 24th, but I could be.
Okay, we'll take a little break while he's looking at the additional material.
The two combined figures is 196,700.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, and,
Two combined figures is 196,700.
right, so 40% of that would be a reduction of 78,680. So,
Did the percentages, thank you.
right, okay, yeah, I got cell phone calculator.
You said how much, 70?
78,680 reduction.
your calculators up, because
Yeah.
don't have mine.
Rounded up to 80.
80, okay.
80.
All right, let's do that then. Okay. Okay,
So we're talking 40% of the.
I like rounding.
Of the increase.
Right.
Yeah, of the increase, yeah.
Of the 100, yeah, the one,
There's two of them there.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Okay, so that 1,604,100 would become 1,524,100. Okay,
So everybody, are you okay with 40%, or you want to go?
40% of the increase. I mean, I have no, certainly I'm not an expert on what Pura has done for utilities, but
yeah.
sort of my sort of instinctive act,
Yeah.
reaction would be that it's probably an okay number to go with, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
40% is reasonable.
You're comfortable with that?
Yeah, very comfortable.
Jacob?
I wrote down, when we got I wrote about 80,000 on mine.
I also think that we are, if something happens, I don't know, I can't read the commission's mind or what their thought process is, of course, but even if it's higher than that, I think we can work with it. I think we can take care of it.
See how it works out.
Yeah, I
Right.
think so. But I think reducing the expenditure is something we really need to work on first.
Because it is fairly,
Deal with the other
it's,
stuff.
it's not $2,000 or $3,000, quite a bit more.
Okay. Jacob, you okay with that?
Absolutely, I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
So the reduction, I'm sorry, I didn't get that last number.
80, it's going to go down by 80,000, so then the total number would be 1,524,100.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Which line item do you want it taken out of?
It's out of the water and hydrant.
You want it out of the hydrant?
Yep. So, Rob, if you want to split it out between the water hydrant and the water building, the water building is 15%.
Yeah, it's really irrelevant.
Oh, okay.
I'll cover it during the year if I
All right,
you know,
okay.
We'll make it work.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just easier to take it out of one line instead of both.
okay.
Yeah, I wasn't able to find it. I know I have it, so maybe just save it for tomorrow?
Sure.
Apologize for that. My desk is in this.
Thank you.
We want to take a pass on this one?
No, I think we, Catherine,
What?
you didn't want to wait until tomorrow to decide on this, right? Or-
I don't know that that's going to make any material difference unless you think it's something that would help us in any other way, but,
Yeah, I think we're,
you know, I think most of the council's
Whatever you want to
comfortable with 40%, and
yeah. So a 40%.
if we're okay with that, then we could approve the rest of this. If you have it
Right.
tomorrow, that would just be a point of interest for us.
Right, okay,
Okay.
All right,
All right, you ready?
Madam
And do
Chair.
we have the numbers confirmed with Rob?
I do.
All right.
Yeah, you're-
Can I have a motion?
You're correct, Deb, yep.
Okay, thanks. Madam Chair, a motion to approve Department 315 in the amount of $1,524 and $24,100.
Can you say that again? Because I'm,
1 million, I'm sorry.
okay, thank
I'm
you.
having a, okay, $1,524,100.
Perfect. All right, I thought it was me.
No, it was me.
All right, great. I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion on this department? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Next item is motor vehicle and equipment pool, F-19. Recommended budget of $139,674, which is the no change in the recommended budget to the current budget.
So, Robert, I do have a question on the equipment repair and maintenance, or, yes, on that. We are, in our capital, proposing a new catch basin cleaner. Will that have any impact on any of these repair and maintenance numbers, or is it insignificant? Or are we going to still use that machine and just get a new one?
We're proposing that the catch basin cleaner be budgeted over 2 years. The actual cost of that is $400,000. We're recommending 200
Okay.
this year and 200 next year, so we would use it through next year, at the very least.
Through next year?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, there's no changes to this department. Unless anybody has any further questions, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
okay, motion to approve Department 320 motor vehicles and equipment for $139,674.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is Transfer Station F23. Recommended budget is a total of $93,726, an increase of $165, 0.18%. The increase is a 2.5% increase to the part-time salary of the person who mans that transfer station on selected Saturdays.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 323 in the amount of $93,726.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next.
Next is the water pollution control. It's on page K21 or section K21. When you get there, I'd ask you to flip over the page to the expenditure side of the budget. It has a little bit more detail on the page. Recommended budget of $4,845,281. It's an increase of $525,554, of which $473,112 is a result of principal and interest payments on the Clean Water Fund. That's going to be increasing because that we anticipate it's going to we're going to start paying principal and interest on that in the next fiscal year. And some of it has to do with capital outlay of $44,887,000, higher than the current fiscal year, which we'll be discussing tomorrow. If you want, we can discuss the capital for this item, separately, because it's not not part of the total, capital program. It's kind of separate off to the side. And the actual operations side of the budget is a decrease of $502, 1.9 million, $1,915,141. You see some increases on the full-time salary. The reason why it's not at 2.5 is because of we had some change in personnel. And we see some decreases in heating oil and gasoline based on our existing prices and usage. And we see slight increases in diesel, water, and hydrant, and then a slight decrease in telephone as well, as we expect the fiber project to be up and running. So the operations budget actually decreases a little, decreases slightly. The capital outlay increases a little bit, and, most of the increase has to do with debt service, principal, and interest.
Any questions for the town manager on this?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
With the electricity costing $310,000, would it be to our advantage to install solar panels? Just the electric bill alone, the cost, if you diverted that money and put the panels in, and again, I have no idea what it would cost, certainly would curtail the amount of that electric bill. When I see $310,000, I always look for a way to cut back on it. Solar might be a way to go.
We're actually, a good portion of this is offset by solar because in order to participate in the program out in Franklin, we had to demonstrate some high electricity usage. And this was one of the this is probably our highest building other than the high school. And I believe that $310,000 electricity is a net number.
It is net of the.
It was actually
Rutland.
significantly higher than that at one time, and when we joined that solar program, it actually brought it down to 310,000. There's a lot of heavy equipment in there, and pumps that run pretty often, and it's also includes the pump stations. You know, we have, how many pump stations we got? 9 pump stations. Some of them are larger than others, but yes.
Do you know what the savings was? I'm just curious. If you get a chance, can you get me the savings on that with the installation of the solar? You're telling me it cost us much more money in the past.
Yes,
I'm just curious to know what the savings was.
sure. Do you have that offhand, Rob, or do?
No, that would take some digging. I mean, I can get you the credits that we've received over the past, 2-3 years. But with rate increases and varying equipment usages, and plant additions, it's going to be a very hard comparison.
Credits are for 15 years, if I understand it right?
I'm not sure what that agreement is.
Yeah, I think
Is it 15? Yeah, okay. So I think we've been in this now for 2 to 3 years.
we could tell you what the credits were for the that we received.
Yeah.
And
That,
that would tell you what our savings are.
yeah.
The only reason I'm asking, there might be other electric bills that are high in the town that we might curtail them with solar panels. I know they were installed in Linden Street School. I don't know what the savings was for that. It certainly had to be substantial.
Yes, and we have them on Tophlon School and we have them on the high school.
Yep.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, we've saved on electricity pretty substantially over the last, I'd say, 8 or 9 years.
Oh, yeah. I could tell you these credits for this particular panel or panels out in Franklin, we spend about $7,500 a month on it, and it's probably neutral at the end of the year with all the credits we get for this one department. So this, it's a revenue neutral and expenditure neutral concept for the sewer plant. But I'll get you those numbers.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding the Water Pollution Control Fund? Okay, can I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
motion to approve Department 340 in the amount of $4,845,281.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, that completes pretty much Public Works and Water Pollution Control. Next is going over to Zoning Board of Appeals on page D15.
Bye, Joe. Thank you.
Recommended budget of $500, which is $100 less than the current fiscal year.
Madam Chair?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
It's hard. Go ahead.
Motion to approve Department 112 in the amount of $500.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Next.
Next is Civil Preparedness, E23. This helps supplement the fire marshal's salary line item, and you can see that in the detail below. We're recommending, because this is kind of a match to a grant, so we haven't had our grant increase over time, so we just keep the match at at a consistent amount is what we're recommending, and that any changes be done in the fire marshal's full-time salary account. The net impact is the same. So we're recommending $18,000 for civil preparedness, which is the current amount that we have budgeted for civil preparedness.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, please.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Motion to approve Department 215 in the amount of $18,000.
Any questions or comments about that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next item we have is Technical Services Administration, which is F27. Recommended budget of $183,240. It's an increase of $6,090 or 3.44%. Full-time salary is an increase of 3.46%, and that increase is above the 2.5% is due to a step increase due to an employee down in that, a union employee down in that department. All other line items being held, they're smaller line item numbers, but all of them being held the same amount.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair? Oh,
Whoever would like it,
I'll defer to Councilman Underwood.
okay?
Motion to approve line 325, Federal Service Administration for $183,240.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item is engineering, F31. Recommended budget of $83,900, which is an increase of $2,155, or 2.64%. Good portion of that increase is in full-time salary. It's an increase in the salary of 2.5%, $1,955, and a small increase in operating supplies. The engineering department does a lot of work with regards to layout of such projects as the Town Line Road project, and what will be the Whiting Street project. We've done the Cook Street project and the Northwest Drive project with this department doing a lot of the layout and design of that. So we get some reimbursement for that through the grants, because we do account for it and apply for reimbursement. We only can apply for so much, but we get some of that back.
Okay. Okay, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Okay, a motion to approve Department 330 Engineering for $83,900.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Next is the building inspector inspection on F35. Recommended budget of $104,565, which is an increase of $30,783, or 41.72%. I'm making a recommendation that we go back to a full-time building official and move away from the part-time building inspector, supplemented with contractual services through the city of Bristol for inspection services, primarily for two reasons. One is that our part-time building inspector is retiring. We've made efforts to find a part-time building inspector. It's virtually impossible to find a part-time building inspector. I've spoke to several. I've reached out. He wanted to retire in January, so we were just going to replace him with a part-time. So that's number one. And number two is we need to have a building official available to the public in the office, even with the part-time building official being there 2 days a week. It was difficult answering all the questions that come in through the door, some of it being done by, office staff, which probably isn't appropriate. And we're also seeing some of the, building operations picking up. We have the AmeriCorps project, we have what might be the White Oak project moving forward, and we have some homes being built on Camp Street, and we have, just general renovation. So the salary line item is based upon what it would take to attract a building official, full-time building official. During COVID, the state stopped doing their building inspector certifications, so the talent pool is limited, and so we're trying to, so I've set that salary based upon, I know who I can attract with this number. And that's somebody who has a lot of building experience, but has only been a building official for maybe a year and a half. So, and that's what, people are paying for building officials around us.
So there will not be a part-time person in this department?
That's
if
correct.
We'll just have the full-time building inspector?
Yes, and
Okay.
we generally what we would do if the building inspector is going to take a vacation, they're friends with another building inspector and they trade off. When you go on vacation, I'll cover for you and vice versa. We can usually get by for a week or two without having somebody in the office. Having somebody on call is probably, it's worked in the past.
Do you find that some of those tasks weren't being accomplished with the arrangement we tried, part-time here, part-time with Bristol? Did you find that some of those things were not being attended to as quickly or as efficiently as you would have liked?
Yes. Part of it is because our existing building inspector is, at the end of his career, he's a lot less active than he was earlier in his career, so that has slowed down a little bit. I mean, if we had somebody who was, maybe in a little better condition, it might work, but like I said, it's difficult to and some of them are further, that might work for us are miles and miles away, and who wants to travel that far for a part-time building? I mean, I was talking to somebody from Montville,
Yeah.
and I was talking to somebody from Marlboro, and Salem, so, there was somebody from Burlington who was interested, but then he decided that, nah, if it's only part-time, I'm not, it's not worth it to me.
Sure. You may not know this, but how many building inspections are generally done in the course of the year? Do you have, I don't see that in your commentary, but, I mean, you don't have to go look it up now.
Well,
I was just curious
I'm seeing
about
if John
that.
knows it.
Well, we issue about 1,200 permits a year. So each permit has got to be, there's at least one. So we're looking at probably in the neighborhood of 2,000 inspections a year, in one form or another.
Okay,
Now, it's hard to, with the Bristol arrangement, they cover them all at once. So it's hard to, I mean, we can separate it out, but not the exact number. But I would say somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 inspections a year.
okay. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
The person who we have a pretty good shot, and I've had some conversations with the individual who said he most likely would apply, is a Plainville resident. So I feel that we might have a better chance of that person sticking around for a bunch of years if they live in town. Not that that should make a big difference, but, I've talked to the mayor of Bristol about this, and she indicated that, whatever Plainville wants to do is fine. They've had some problems keeping building inspectors as well. They changed their chief building official within the last year, and I think they've had a complete turnover in their inspectors, probably in the last 2 years. So, like I said, people are retiring or going to, better jobs that pay more money, or retiring after 20 years and, getting another job somewhere else and be able to collect on their pension.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, do you know if towns ever, rather than having their own building inspector, have a consultant on a contract basis, or is that not something that happens in this realm?
I think they
duty?
do in smaller towns.
Smaller than us?
Yeah, there's a few out there.
There are a few? Okay.
Yes. But we need somebody full-time.
Okay. All right.
We did have somebody who applied for the part-time position and wanted to do it from his home, just reviewing plans and specs, doing plan review. But we need somebody in the office. There's homeowners who walk in and want some advice on what to do. They aren't all builders, and, we feel uncomfortable having our existing office professional staff trying to answer questions. And like I said, our existing building inspector wanted to retire probably last summer and stayed on, because of his loyalty to the community. So,
Yeah. Well, things change. Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for the town manager? This is something of a change. We'd had this part-time arrangement for a few years, Robert. Is it 3 or 4 years?
I think it's 3 years now.
3 years?
Yeah,
Okay,
and it's worked out pretty good.
yep,
And if it wasn't for the retirement of the part-time building inspector, I'd not be able to find a part-time building inspector to take the spot, we might continue it.
Yep.
And in fact, if this is approved, I'd like to begin the process of advertising relatively early so we have somebody on board, maybe as early as, June 1st if possible, even if it's a month, because, it's hard to,
get things going.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to approve Department 360 in the amount of $104,565.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Again, any further discussion, questions for the town manager on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes.
The next item is the Fire Marshal F-39. Recommended budget of $78,307, which is an increase of $2,507 or 3.31%. The reason for the increase is because of the full-time salary account of, the same amount as the increase. And that's because we didn't put the increase in the civil preparedness, so all of the increase is here. Otherwise, it'd be 2.5 in this one and 2.5 in the civil preparedness. So the net impact is the same.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Motion to approve Department 370 in the amount of $78,307. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, second.
Motion and a second.
After a while.
I just have a quick question about the number. I'm not, but the total personnel, 76. Down at the bottom where we have fire marshal, the number is 73,507. Is that?
Oh.
Oh, got it. I looked at the part-time. Never mind. Got it. All set.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay.
Okay.
Next we have is the Fire Department budget, E19. The recommended budget of $422,360, an increase of $9,508 or 2.3%. I will say that I did meet with the chief officers with regards to this budget, and I think they're in agreement with what's being recommended this evening. I don't think I made any changes to what they requested without their acquiescence.
I have a question regarding recruitment and training, if you can answer it, or if one of the chiefs wants to help me out, that would be most welcome.
The $2,000 increase?
Right, well, going back to, where I spent to date is $2,300. Now, I'm not sure if that's just a timing issue with when classes are available and when the training actually occurs. And in 1920 was 97, 55, and again, is that because of some issues with availability, COVID, and all of that? So those are my two questions.
The chief officers have said to me that they are going to be putting on a big recruitment drive going forward, and they wanted a few extra dollars to be able to make efforts to attract. So they're going to make a very significant effort in the upcoming fiscal year to attract new volunteer firefighters, and that was the reason for the $2,000 increase. Chief, did you have anything to supplement that?
No, we didn't have a lot of training this past year, so there was some leftover money because of the COVID. The schools were shut down. They just recently opened up. We have two guys that are in the fire one at the academy, and we're probably going to have 3 or 4 more going if they have a class over the summertime, which I don't think they will, but it will definitely start up again in September. The school is back open right now.
So that impacts the spent to date. That's why our spent to date is down because, a good portion of that goes when we send somebody to the academy.
Okay. How many firefighters do we have? I don't see that on our, how many current volunteers do we have on board? Louder?
Close to 50.
Close to 60?
50.
50, 50. Sorry, these masks, and you're way over there. And we could have you come and sit at that little table with the microphone if you want. That might be easier for us to hear you, Tommy.
All right. Is that better?
I think it is.
No, you're,
Leave it on, Tom. Thank you. So we have 50
50 firemen. Just had,
firefighters. Okay.
We just had 5 people apply, which their application is going through now, the background check and all that. So that's a good thing. You usually don't get 5 in a row like that. But the recruitment drive is going to kick off very shortly, and a big push to try to get more people to join us.
Well, you see the ebb and flow as we point, then they leave for a number of
Yeah.
reasons,
Yeah,
or
mostly
whatever,
it's-
moving out of the area, that kind of
Exactly.
thing. So,
Exactly.
so what would you consider to be an optimal number to have? Or don't you have that kind of in your mind?
Well, if we can get close to 60, 70, we used to have 70 at one point.
Yep.
Then it dropped off as people get older and retire. But, if we can actually, if we had 60, that would be comfortable. We're not really in trouble now, but we don't want to wait till the last minute to find out, we're understaffed.
Okay. And the part-time arrangement is working out, the daytime part-timers?
Well, we put the daytime, part-time guy is kind of on a stall right now. We're not sure which way we want to go, if we really need it. Right now, it hasn't hurt us at all, and our numbers are the same during the day as they are at nighttime. So we're kind of wishy-washy whether we're going to get that or not, whether we need it or not.
Okay.
We delayed bringing in the part-time drivers over the summer because we wanted to settle out on the way we pay them first. And then we went from an hourly rate to a block, in order to comply with the statutes. That didn't go into effect till, end of September, beginning of October. We had some other, follow-up issues where we had some meetings where I and Jesse attended some meetings at the firehouse where some of the rank and file were able to, just express their feelings with regards to the operations of the department. I think things, things are seem to be improving. At least that's the
Good.
reports that we're getting. And I know that one of the members did some additional analysis, updated analysis with respect to response times. Response times show that they're a little bit better than they were, a year and a half ago when we were very concerned about it. And I think we, rather than at this point in time hire part-time drivers, I think we want to see if that's going to settle out and stay at that level, or whether it's going to get, whether it's just a blip, a lull in terms of people making an effort. And it may be that some people are making more of an effort because they don't want to have the part-time drivers, paid drivers. So they're saying, well, I guess I, should make better, maybe that's driving it a little bit. But at this point in time, we'd like to keep it in the budget, but we're not saying that we're going to go forward and hire part-time drivers next year. So I don't know, I'd like to monitor it and see where it goes. So I leave it up to the council.
So they're still in here. It's like about $40,000 that's still in here for those two?
$41,600.
Okay, and none of that has been expended in the current year?
That's correct.
Okay.
But we'll leave it up to you to decide how you want to handle it. I mean, we'd like the
Well-
flexibility, but if, if you feel that, hey, if it happens, come back to us, or you want to have it
Yeah.
there and not have to worry about it, certainly,
Jesse, can you help us out here? Because I know that you, not to put you on the spot,
No,
I
that's
have, I
okay.
certainly have an opinion, but you are, you
Yeah,
are
sure.
part of this.
I speak with the chief quite regularly, and we recently sat down for a couple of multiple hour sessions of discussing all kinds of things, and we did discuss this. The chief has told me that in this current budget, if we don't hire any part-timers, the plan is to not expend it and return it, correct? So my thought is, I would rather keep it there on the off chance. I think, one, we've got a little bit more of a push because guys don't want part-time driver. When I say, the rank and file don't want the part-time driver, so they might be showing up in bigger numbers. The other thing is people are at home. It's COVID time, right? So they're more likely to be at home when the bell goes off versus at the beach out with the family and not respond. I think we're all assuming that by the time this budget takes effect, we're hoping to be almost, returning somewhat to normal. And I think we might see the response numbers drop a little bit. I would like to keep it there only because I think the chief is going to need it in fiscal year '22. But knowing that the plan is to not expend those funds other places, and I understand he could spend that money. He could move it, right? I mean, he could say, hey, I need hoses. I'm going to buy hoses with it.
Well, they would never do that, right, Tommy?
Never.
I wouldn't expect that to happen. I mean, honestly, if it's targeted for personnel and they're not even there, then we wouldn't be spending the money on something else.
He couldn't do it without the approval of the town manager. He can't transfer within his budget without getting approval from my office. And that would be, and I wouldn't consider approval unless there was a reason why he needed to buy more hose. And if it was because, a lot of hose broke, and in order to stay, keep us even, we needed to buy more hose, then I would approve the transfer, but we wouldn't approve it because we just wanted to add some more hose.
Because we just want to spend the money that
Yeah.
is not being, go ahead.
If we're concerned about, should we be reducing that, I would think I'd be comfortable if we cut it in half, because if he needs these drivers, it probably wouldn't be until the end of the first quarter that we would be making that decision anyway, and then it's going to take a quarter to hire somebody. So if you want to look at a reduction, I would
So
suggest half.
take one position out.
We'll take half of it out because you wouldn't be hiring somebody till maybe January at the earliest.
So that's 20,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's not one person, it's probably four,
Oh,
because they're part-time.
It's about the total hours, I think, that we'd be looking at, which
Right.
equal 41,600,
Yeah.
whether that be one person or four people.
I see. Okay. So that's interesting information. I thought it was up and running, but of course I wouldn't have known that.
We balance
Well, I think it's,
a little bit.
I know. Yeah, well, sometimes things are hard. I would say to, take out 20,000, leave $20,000 in there and certainly if there comes a point in time in the next 6 months, once the fiscal year starts, 6 months in, if something changes, we did fund the positions outside of the budget process initially. So we were comfortable doing that, and I would be okay doing that again if we had to. But at this point in time, it sounds like it's still in flux. And
Yes, and in fact, I did talk to the chief, a month or so ago. I said, let's get moving on hiring the part-time drivers, and then we had a discussion about some of the updated numbers, and we said, okay, let's not just hire because we have the money. Let's monitor it for a while. So we, just because it's in the budget, we didn't
Right.
necessarily go forward.
I appreciate that. Okay. So that's one item that we can adjust going forward. There's not much change here. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for our fire chiefs that are here tonight,
Madam Chair?
outside of what we talked about? Go ahead, Rosemary.
Not a question. I just-
Rosemary, are you on?
Yes, I'll get closer to the mic, okay?
Oh.
It's not a question. I just wanted to say, I didn't have a page that had the program description and budget narrative commentary. The fire department?
I don't think we received it yet, is that it, Matt?
Oh, okay, but it will be like in the fire, just thought, you know. Yeah,
We're
check it out, yeah.
pressing some of the new leadership to get their homework done.
I didn't know if it was left out of the books or something.
No, no.
All right. Any other comments or questions regarding the fire department? Okay.
Madam Chair?
So I would ask that we reduce it by 20,000. And if you want to go ahead and make that motion, go ahead.
Motion to approve Department 210 in the amount of $402,360.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
And any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you for updating us with what's going on, and we appreciate it, and always good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay.
At least the alarm didn't go off, right?
Did about 10 minutes before we came in here.
Always seems to go that way.
Bye, Dom.
Goodbye.
Next item we have is the police department, and that's on section E09. It's a recommended budget of $4,840,771. It's an increase of $225,314, or 4.88%. Good portion of that increase is in full-time salary, which is going up 5.53% by $208,743. Part of it is playing catch-up from last year because we had budgeted for an increase of 2.25%, and during the union negotiations, we ended up at 3%, so we had to make, we were 0.75%, behind. And we have 3% this year rather than, 2.5% in the union contract, and we have some step increases. So that all works out to the number that's you see in front of you, 208,743. I will say that I'm not sure if we have any retirements that are coming up. I know we filled the position earlier than we thought somebody was leaving us, and they didn't end up leaving us sometimes, so we were running ahead on having an additional officer. When that person retires, it gets us back to where we were budgeted for this year. So we're
Okay.
There's some minor changes in professional development, recruitment and training. Maintenance contracts are up. Rob can put up on the board what some of those changes are. I know that they have to do, some of it has to do with we have a fingerprinting program that the state runs. We have the equipment in our department, and apparently they neglected to charge us, the towns, their share of our share of running that operation for several years, and I guess somebody caught up to that. So while we hadn't paid for it in the past, they're saying, hey, they're not asking us to make it all up. They're just saying from going forward, you need to pay your fair share. We have some forensic software that we've purchased as well that is adding to this cost. But Rob, I don't know if you want to go through any of those other types of items that are in the maintenance contracts, maybe what we have budgeted and what we see for going forward.
Right, so what we have budgeted for this year is 53,142. Yeah, it's a little off here on Eddie's sheet, but this is what we have, the first column here, if you can read it. 53,142. The ones that Robert were talking about, the contracts that the two new ones are these last two. It's the fingerprinting machine and the drone pilot's license. We need nine
Roughly nine.
pilots license at $200 each to fly the drones. It's an FAA rule, period. So those two items are new this year. The forensic, where is that one? The forensic equipment, that's right here. The computer detective room. That's a major cost increase from the past few years as well. So it's really those three items that are driving the increase from 52 to 64. Everything else is kind of in line with where it has been in past years. Our CROG memberships and maintenance, our copy machines, body cameras, the scheduling software, all of those items are in line with past years.
We are moving forward with the purchase of body cams. There's a state grant available for our town. It would be 30% grant reimbursement. And I know that the lieutenants are putting a package together, and we'll be bringing it probably before the council within the next month and a half. This is a requirement under the new laws that were passed, so it's mandatory that we do it. I think we have some time to do it, but, this is something we've been looking to implement for a while.
Are there ongoing costs once we do have them?
There
Or
are. The first
Maintenance
year-
or replacement or
Yes.
storage of stuff?
Yeah, and the lifespan's only 3 to 5 years for each camera, so they have a shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're looking at is also a managed care package where we sort of lease it, but then you get a new camera every 3 years. So we're putting together a buyout price and then a managed care price for the town manager. We'll get with him and get all the numbers together. We've reached out to a couple of different vendors. Right now, we have WatchGuard. That's who we have for in-dash cameras, so it probably makes the most sense to stay with them, and so far, they're the least expensive, so. But there is an ongoing cost every 5 years. Yeah.
Right, so if you buy the equipment outright and own it, then there's more maintenance than if you buy the managed care one, which, comes with, a lower initial price, but it goes on for a longer period of time. Similar to what we're doing with our radio system with Goosetown. So this, I haven't seen the numbers yet. They're developing them. Probably be something where we would ask for, either an additional appropriation in order to get it started, or if we have it done before the end of the budget season, but I think that, I don't have a number to put in there for you to say, and we'd probably do it in the current fiscal year.
Right now?
It'll go
Well,
for a
we're
year.
getting some interesting money in from the feds. Maybe we could help with that. I don't know.
You never know.
Well, we don't know what the restrictions are.
We don't. I mean, I sat in on a CCM program today, and, the bottom line is we have to wait we get guidelines from the Treasury. They really couldn't answer specific questions. I mean, the general theme was, if there's any increases in your budget as a result of COVID, that's eligible. If there's increases to your budget as a result of COVID. They also said if there was things that we didn't get reimbursed for going back to when COVID started, so any increases from the previous year when you didn't have COVID to the next year where you did have it and you had increased costs that you can demonstrate, anything that wasn't previously reimbursed, that could be used for that as well. There was also some discussion about that it could be used for water, sewer, or fiber projects. Don't ask me why. And I'm not sure what the guidelines are for that, but there may be some opportunities for us to perhaps, and I don't know without getting the guidelines, we're in the midst of a fiber project right now. We may be able to reimburse some of our costs, but those are really kind of capital items. But, but we won't know that until the guidelines come out, and we probably will have to get some questions answered. But there may be some opportunities, but that's what I heard today. But the theme was you have to wait till the Treasury guidelines are issued. They'll probably be issued month and a half. They said generally from when the legislation is approved, it's expected to be approved tomorrow. They say it usually takes 30 to 45 days before they issue the guidelines. So.
Well,
A question, now, are they saying for the period of time for which you'll be able to do these expenditures? Is it looking at the 2-year
Yes.
period? Okay.
They're saying the end of 2024.
Okay, good.
And 2024, I think, would be December 31st, 2024. They weren't specific about that, but
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It seems that, lots of money was spent a year ago for COVID-related expenditures, and there were dollars that came in from the federal government to help with that.
And we've been reimbursed for all of our
Right.
past expenditures so far.
Sure.
Rob has told me that anything we asked for, at least to date, has been paid for.
And the board, too, they got some very large reimbursement monies, so.
And they have some monies left over.
As we're tailing out of this, out of this situation, I don't quite understand how it could be restricted to those things, but I guess we still need to wait and see what the guidance is going to be. Okay.
There may be some economic development, they've even talked about economic development opportunities as well, so I just have to, that might be helpful as well.
Okay. Well, we got a little off track. But, that's what we do now.
We were on maintenance contracts.
Madam Chair.
Yes, we were.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Pertaining, Lieutenant, the body cams, 3 to 5 years, is that due to changing technology, wear and tear, some of each? Am I just way off base?
Yeah, a little bit of both,
Okay,
but mostly wear and tear and shelf life,
I got you. And then it's more curiosity, the drones, can you tell us how you're using those?
Well, right now, there's a lot to get licensed as a pilot. We just had Sergeant Quilter take the test yesterday, so he's our first pilot. Now we have to get some people behind him. We have taken it up a couple of times when we needed to. We used it once up at Crescent Lake when a child was lost hiking. So, I mean, it is something we're going to be able to use moving forward quite often.
Thank you. It was just curiosity more than anything on that.
So yeah, there's a lot to do to become a pilot. It's a state or it's a federal test, but it's just a lot of studying. There's quite a bit to it to be able to take that test and pass it. So we had one go through, so we're 1 for 1. We got about 7 or 8 other people to get through. So,
Thank you.
and that's, I believe, the license is good for every 2 years. So every two years you got to take the test and
More
pay
ongoing
the fee.
expense.
Okay.
Modern policing.
Technology.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the police operating budget request? All right. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion to fund Department 201 in the amount of $4,840,771.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries.
Next item is animal control, E13. Recommended budget is $93,248, an increase of $3,031, 3.36%. A good portion of that is full-time salary. Full-time salary is the same thing with the police. The K-9 is, is part of that police department, so they have the same 3%. They're part of the union, 3%. One full-time person, 3%, and 3% for this year. Part-time salary, increase of 2.5% because they're part-time, not in the union, and a little bit more in overtime based on, the usage that we've had. I think we were down one part-time person,
We still are.
and that's caused some of the overtime as a result of that, which we're trying to get the second part-time person in. If we're able to get that, that may bring some of the overtime down, but right
We
now,
have a good candidate right now, so we just in the early stages.
Okay.
other than that, with slight decrease in auto repair and maintenance because we have a relatively new vehicle.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Motion to approve Department 205 in the amount of $93,248.
Madam Chair, second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is emergency medical services, CMed, that's on E17. We are part of, what is it? be
North Central
North Central.
Coordinated Medical Emergency Direction.
Thank you. So that's a program that handles our emergency medical response. We transfer over to them when there's certain protocols as far as people being ill, and they're the medical professionals that walk them through the protocols. This is based on their per capita charge as well as the population, and you can see from the numbers down below, our population has decreased according to this group. I don't know if they use the same ones as the State Department of Health, but anyhow. So we have a slightly less in population according to CMed and a slightly higher per capita. The net impact is an increase of $181 or 1.15%. Total budget of $15,956.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve, please?
Matt?
Go ahead.
Motion to approve Department 206, Emergency Medical Services, in the amount of $15,956.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Is that it for the police, Robert?
Nope, that's all we have.
Okay.
Want to add anything, Nick?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Just checking. All right. Yeah, okay, you guys are all set.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to go back to some of the items that, on the expenditure side that were passed over yesterday?
Yeah, we can, I think we can go over some of those. We got a lot of information from you today, Robert, and quite honestly, I have not had the chance to read it all, so some of these I'm going to ask for us to, hold on.
Okay, do you want to skip it till tomorrow?
Well, again, I have not been home, and I haven't had a chance to read some of this information that you sent out, so can we do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm fine if we wait. Yeah, if we're not going to vote tonight, I would say we vote tomorrow.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No,
That
not at
would,
all.
All right.
I appreciate your indulgence.
I don't know if you want to have a
Look at
review of
revenues?
revenues or quick review of revenues this evening?
I think, it's on our list, and it's, yeah, I think, is everybody all right spending a few minutes on revenues? And and then, that seems to be the moving target for us for the rest of this.
Okay. It's on
I
page,
keep hoping for good things, but we don't know yet a lot, do we?
sure, the list is on B7.
Yep.
Current taxes is based upon the proposed mill rate increase. The reason why the number is a little bit higher is because we had a grand list increase. So if you combine the grand list increase with the mill rate increase, it's an increase of current taxes of 3.16%. So putting that aside, if you lower the mill rate, obviously that's the number that's going to be decreased.
Correct.
Last year, we called out personal property audit revenue. Normally, that would be part of current taxes, but we pulled it out just to be able to analyze it. And we budgeted this year $150,000. This year, we're going to collect about $447,000. And so the recommendation is that we up the personal property audit revenue by $50,000. I think $447,000. I don't know if we should count on that every year. You'll see the previous year was 186, actual in 2020. So I think we had a banner year in the current year. I'm not sure that we should count on that as a trend going forward, but we felt comfortable enough to increase it somewhat.
Does that depend on who they audited?
Yes.
Yeah, so
that's
that can
random.
vary from year to year, depending on the industry that they looked at?
Yes, and this is almost similar to prior taxes, is once you collect them, it's kind of gone. And now
Right.
you're back on schedule as normal taxes. So it is kind of, once you go through the entities that are being audited and they're caught up, that's what's showing in the 447 estimate. Well, now they're gone, and now you got to move on to somebody else. So like Robert said, we can't assume that income will be every single year.
But ongoing revenues are
Yes,
increased.
right,
Right, yeah.
right, but it won't.
But we won't have a
specifically-
bump like.
Right, it goes into the current tax.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
That gets
Yeah, they have to
depreciated
pay it
over time, so
Got
it
it.
does go down, but,
Right.
and the businesses that are chosen are done randomly. So we don't pick on
Right.
the ones that have the most, so we do it random so that we don't have a lot of people coming to the council meeting and.
Robert, in a similar vein, do we get a list or do you have an accounting of any businesses that have closed in the past year? Some may have related to the COVID, some may have related to other issues. Do we keep a list of those that have closed? Or do we not?
I'd have to check with Cal. I think John's gone. I don't know if we have a total, a list that we, that has everything, but we probably have a pretty good sign of businesses that have closed. Probably have a list. I'm not sure how,
Right. Well, that impacts tax collection as well, and other things in the town. So I just was curious if we kept a log or some kind of list or how you would be notified if that happens.
I think it's just, a lot of times people are looking to rent their space out. So we know that space becomes available because the business moved out. That would be one. Some of it is just, because we know that this pizza place closed
Right.
or, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I will,
I was just curious about that.
it's somewhat misleading when with regards to taxes and businesses. For example, there was somebody who commented on social media the other day that, ABB moved out of town, so, there goes those taxes. Well, we still collect taxes on the building.
Right. Right.
Even though it's empty. We
Right.
may not get the personal property,
Correct.
and we may, because sometimes the personal property stays. So, just because a business closes, if the building's still there, we're still collecting, a certain amount of taxes. So we're recommending that, that to bump it up $50,000, and there's no science to it. We just felt based on at least the first 2 years of doing personal property audits that would be a reasonable number to put in there.
Okay.
As far as motor vehicles supplements, past trends, indicate that $450,000, is reasonable as well by bringing that up $50,000. We expect to collect $500,000 this year. We collected $539,000 the year before. We budgeted 400. We feel that we can bring it up to, reasonably 450. No magic to that either, science to it. Just we felt it could bump up, but not, not the total amount at like the average of the last 2 years.
Right, we don't want to put ourselves out of, at a point where we have to lower it. That would be detrimental. So I'd rather have it be a little bit lower than what we actually collect and bill out. And given that this is a supplemental tax, given COVID-19 issues, maybe people aren't buying cars. So we do feel confident that bumping it up a little bit is the right thing to do, but not all the way to where we've collected in previous years.
And for those who may not be as familiar with motor vehicle supplement, the motor vehicle bill that you get on July 1st is based upon all cars that were purchased as of October 1st the previous year. If you buy a car on October 2nd, you're going to get a supplemental motor vehicle bill. It's going to be prorated a little bit, but you're going to get a supplemental bill. So if you buy a car, in May, you're going to get a supplemental bill. You buy a car in July, I think you still get a supplemental bill. You get a supplemental bill all the way up to September 30th. If you purchase it, you're going to pay taxes for a couple of months. A lot less taxes if you buy it in September than if you buy it on October 2nd. So that's where the supplemental bill comes out. It's the timing of when you buy your car.
Okay.
All right. The other changes we see, we pay the state a portion of our building permit fees. We get some revenue from them. We get a
Yeah, as part of the fee, there is a certain percentage that goes to the state.
and we get
More
some.
for paperwork.
Okay. So that's revenue that we keep accounting of. That's revenue, but we have to give it to the state. So it's an in and out pretty much.
It's an in and out, correct?
Police permits, based on past history, we feel we can.
Robert, can I just ask you to go back to the building permits, please?
The larger one, the 42110?
42110?
Yes.
So the 350 is what we had budgeted prior year?
Yes.
But we had, in this current year, we're estimating a very large increase. So that is not going to continue as
Right.
far as we can foresee. Is that Miracle?
Maricold, yes.
Correct.
Maricold,
Okay.
we've collected about 800,000 in,
I believe it's like over 800,000 at this point, yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going back to what we had historically used for a number?
yes. And you can see the previous year, we collected 265.
Right.
We think, things are getting better,
Yep.
so we feel comfortable with keeping it at the same amount, but, that's one that's, is not, we're not as confident in it, but we don't feel we need to lower it at this point in time.
We're also a little hopeful that White Oak may be part of that number for next year, if that development continues.
Okay. Thank you.
See, we're recommending some slight increases to police permits, slight decrease in condo fees. That's what we charge condos for trash collection. The share.
Yes.
Share trash
Sorry,
collection.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's based on historical, what's come in. So the number of condos hasn't changed, and our fees haven't changed. Therefore, we should lower the budget to be reflective of what actually comes in.
Police fees increased by $10,000. Vital statistics up a little bit. Recording fees, people are filing, refinancing their homes, and that's driving up the recording fees revenue, as well as transfers of property, of course. ZBA fees, recommending a decrease based on historical last couple of years. Slight increase in trash container fees. Any other questions on any other items that I didn't highlight? Now we'll go to flip the page to the second page. Use of money is our investments. Interest rates are down. You can see that we're going to come significantly under budget this year, at least that's the estimate. So we're recommending not to bring it down to what our estimate is this year, but to bring it down somewhat. Maybe half of that amount, I think, is what you're recommending, Rob. So a decrease, cut the $75,000 budget in half, just based on the fact that our use of money, our investments, the interest rates are just so low. Condo fee interest, I don't know if you want to explain what that one is, Rob.
That's just the condo bills that we saw earlier. They will reduce the actual bill. It's when they pay late. No different than taxes. There's an interest rate percentage assigned to it.
So we don't lump it all into one.
Correct.
Okay. On intergovernmental revenues, this is based on the governor's proposed budget. Except for miscellaneous state grants, we've been able to, we've done fairly okay miscellaneous state grants. You never know when they're going to come up, but the last couple of years, we've been able to get some revenue out of it.
So Robert, the ECS grant, you're keeping it at the same? You
Yes,
haven't
we're keeping, at this point in time, we're keeping it.
You haven't reduced it?
Well,
Wasn't it supposed to go down?
no, it's supposed to go up.
Go up, I'm sorry.
They froze it at the current.
That's right, so
Yeah.
so we,
It went down from what we were
Correct.
anticipating a month and a
Got
half
it.
ago.
okay,
Yes.
keeping it the same, okay. So that's a potential area where there may be some changes, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
As they get through this
Yes.
discussion, and so would we know this before we vote on the budget, or is there no way of knowing when that's going to happen, or?
Well, the legislature is supposed to, this is the long session, they're supposed to convene, I guess, early June on the long session. But there may be a very good chance that we would know it by the time we set the mill rate. You know,
Okay.
what comes out of Education Committee, generally is a pretty good indicator, but, that's the hope, is that we would know by then. Yes, for sure. By the time you set the mill rate.
Okay,
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so.
thank you.
Next time I want to push out is LoCIP. These are local capital improvement program. These monies can only be spent on capital items, so what we'd like to do is move this revenue over to the capital improvement program. And in return, that is the reason why I increased the use of fund balance by $100,000 to offset, kind of the switch. That, basically we're using fund balance on the CIP, and we can't use the LoCIP dollars in our operating budget. We have to transfer it over to the CIP anyhow. So we just figure if we put it directly in the CIP, we would put less into the use of fund balance. So that's why the fund balance was popped up by $100,000, was to offset pretty much the 124 that we were going to move over into LoCIP.
Okay,
Conveyance taxes, when people transfer property, we get a certain percentage of the, in what they call a conveyance tax. There's a lot of transfers going on. We're estimating somewhere around $315 this year. We feel that can get bumped up by $50,000. The state legislature each year talks about increasing the conveyance tax. There's people who the real estate people argue that there shouldn't be a conveyance tax and it should be zero to get rid of it. The state's talking about maybe allowing conveyance tax increases for certain towns if they choose to do it under particular circumstances. It's all over the lot with regards to that, but we're kind of anticipating that it'll stay about this, somewhere near the same, and that, based on recent past experiences with a lot of transfer of property, that the conveyance tax would justify an increase in the conveyance tax by $50,000. Pilot Housing Authority, we have to be a little bit more diligent. I'm not in prying dollars out of the Housing Authority to pay for their payment in lieu of taxes, but they have to do a little bit of a catch-up. I don't have the exact amount right now. I know that they're working close to the edge as far as, making their ends meet.
Are you saying we're not going to be getting that from them, or is there?
We're going to get some pilot from them. I just don't think, it's usually it's a certain percentage of what they collect.
Right.
But they're not getting the funding that they used to get from the state to help keep them afloat. So things have gotten tighter with them. They've increased some of their rent to people as a result. So we have to get a little bit.
We'll contact them to see where they're at. I think the last time I
Yep.
spoke to them was maybe a year ago at this point. We probably should reconnect with them, see what's going on.
We've been budgeting somewhere around $25,000. They should have been paying us about $25,000. You can see that in 2020,
Right.
actual receipt was 10, so they're behind in that year. They haven't paid us anything for.
We've got nothing this year?
Yeah, so.
No, not yet.
But so they're not going to catch up in 1 year. So,
Right.
So we're projecting, at least for revenue for next year, to keep it at $10,000. Lower it to $10,000.
Robert, is there federal money involved with subsidizing some of those housing units, or how does that work?
I don't know if it's federal money, but I believe there's state money that helps to make, the way it works, as I understand it, at least in the past, was that the person would be charged a rent based upon their income.
Okay.
A certain percentage of their income. It was limited to, I don't know, they were using 25% or 30%. And then they would do their budget, and the state would reimburse for any difference in, if you couldn't, for people, not everybody has the same income. So so somebody who 30% of their income is $100 a month, and somebody else's $30, 30% might be $400. But if their rent, but if it takes $400 average to run their system, then the state would reimburse at least a $100 person $300 back to the housing authority. Well, they've begun to pull back on that on that those monies as they have to us in the past as well in similar circumstances. So that's where I believe they're running into problems, is the state's not reimbursing them for the difference of the person who's got the low income. So that means they have to raise the lower income person, and the higher income person, the higher income, they have to raise it, and they don't want to do it all at one time, and it's to a certain degree, catch-22. But we'll get an accounting from them and bring that forward at a future council meeting. But for our budget for next year, we would recommend that we lower our expectations as far as what we would receive next year, because they have to catch up. Because they have to catch up. Catch up. Got hamburgers on my mind. Sorry
Thank you.
Interfund transfers in. This comes in from the Water Pollution Control Authority. They pay us for some of the
Benefits, insurances, FICA, Medicare, payroll taxes, really every employee benefit that there is.
So we bill that. We have them under our umbrella. We bill them for whatever the costs are for their employees.
Because it is a separate self-sustaining fund, department, if you will. Those costs for payroll taxes, insurances, and all that are not budgeted in there. It's in the town budget, so they're essentially paying us back for their share, if you will.
As far as the debt management is concerned, we budgeted in debt management in the current fiscal year $4,430,350.
Yep.
And $30,350 of it was to cover any potential administrative costs, for bonding or short-term borrowing, and we showed that as a revenue that the 4.4 is what we would put in. Any excess of that would go into debt management. In this particular instance, we were going to recommend that we put the full 4,430 into debt management, and that any thing below what we actually paid, we'd actually pay off the health insurance. So that's why we're not budgeting any revenue. We're recommending not budgeting any revenue in debt management above, we're putting the full $4,430,350 into the debt, into debt. And any surplus in that would go to pay off the health insurance balance.
That would completely take care of that.
After a couple of years, yes. We think this year with the transfer, next year with the transfer, be in the third year, we believe we would be able to come pretty close to paying off the $2.2 million deficit.
Correct.
Okay.
Right about the time the middle school might show up, if that project goes forward. So that's it on the revenue side. At least where we stand. You don't have to make a decision until you set the mill rate. So,
Right.
But if you need any information from us, we'd certainly be willing to provide it.
So what would be some of the areas we might see some changes in terms of revenue?
Well, perhaps
I mean, looking at the crystal ball, where would it might occur?
ECS
Okay.
and perhaps the relief funds.
Uh-huh.
But they may go towards
That
capital.
would be an intergovernmental, is that?
Well, it depends on if the cost is in if it allows us to buy capital items, then it may go directly into capital. For example, fiber. I'm not sure we have costs. I mean, until the Treasury guidelines come out, I'm not sure that we have anything in our budget that would qualify for those funds.
No?
I don't know without the guidelines.
Well, pensions, no,
Well, they specifically said that pensions would not be part of it.
they would not. Okay.
And somebody
Yeah.
said, well, if you had pension increases because of COVID, because some towns could have that, because they,
Yeah,
police did extra time or something along those lines, or you hire extra police, that there's extra pension costs associated with it. It didn't sound like pension would be eligible. But again, we'd have to look at the Treasury guidelines. I know it's tough to wait, when you,
well, again, and I don't mean to be redundant, but if this money comes in and you can't spend it on expenditures that we have, then what happens to it? And we've done all our COVID work and we've done all the other things. What happens?
Hartford,
We turn it back to them?
Bridgeport.
It's reimbursable, from my understanding. So if we don't spend
Yeah, they don't
it,
hand us,
we
they don't
get
write us a check. We have to demonstrate that we spent the money.
Right.
So we request it and we
Right.
give them documentation to support
And
that?
they reimburse us.
Okay,
So if we don't have anything to spend and we don't get reimbursed, then theoretically that allocation, like Robert said, can go elsewhere, if it's needed elsewhere.
And we have 2 years to spend it, so,
Right.
2 years?
before they pull it back, I'm sure, yes. Till the end of 2024 is what they said today. And at the end, I think is calendar year end, not our fiscal year end, which would be 6 months earlier than that.
Oh. Okay. Okay, does anybody have any further questions regarding revenue? We're not going to do anything, but just we took a look at it and this is where it is for today.
I have one more item to talk about, if you don't
Okay.
mind. It's quick. We're going to be going over capital tomorrow night,
Right.
and, I was going to ask the council which staff people you would like to have as far as the capital is concerned, because there may be some people who have capital items that, you don't need them here to, I could probably answer most of the questions. But if you think that you want, for example, to have, Dominic here when he's asking for the VACONs, he's certainly welcome to come and, if some of the other items. So what page can I find at least a summary page for capital? Is it special funds?
Yes, I would look on page,
I got page K5.
yeah, K5 is probably best.
What was that again, Robert?
K5.
K, because I was under the
K as in
M.
Kathy.
M
Yeah,
tab.
it's an M too.
I know, because it says capital, but there's a better summary on,
Right.
Yeah,
It lists
K5 and
everything pretty
K5 and
clearly there.
6. Board of Ed is on K8.
Okay, I was trying to find this earlier today. Oh, there it is.
the Board of Ed will be here. We have the police department, you have the body camera and storage. We've put this number in, that number may get adjusted depending upon what we come up with between now and, the next month or so that may get adjusted. I've only, recommended, half of the amount that they asked for. Police cruisers, 2, computer equipment, which is kind of replaces their equipment, data storage, there's really nothing new here. That you kind of haven't seen before, but if you want them to come, they're certainly willing to come. Fire department, recommending the Class A apparatus replacement, that's a 5-year, this would be the first year of 5.
A question about that, Robert.
Sure.
So, last year's final budget, we had 5-year summary of capital for all the departments. And last year on the 5-year summary, that is not on there. So how did it jump to next year being part of the capital? It wasn't even put out there for a 5-year replacement.
Yeah, I don't know why. We replace, our plan is that we have 5 major pieces of equipment, one being the tower and the other 4 being the 3 engines and the rescue vehicle. And so the idea is that we would buy a vehicle, one of the 4 major vehicles, once every 20 years, 20-year life. So when you divide, you divide that into, on a yearly basis, that's, we save it up over 5 years. So we can buy one vehicle every 5 years rather than have that increase all in 1 year. We save up, so we basically do 1/20th of what that is each year. I don't know why it wasn't in there, but the plan has always been that we would have a payment or start saving for a vehicle in every year. Or you can wait till the 5th year and appropriate $800,000. If you're
Right.
gonna, if you're gonna stick to.
Or we rolled the other two into a major, we bonded them to get it out of the annual commitment.
Yep, that's another. Well, I think the chief's concern is, I'd like to replace a vehicle once every 20 years. So unless how you do it is really immaterial to him, as long as he,
Well, I guess my point is, how old is this? Because it wasn't identified last year as a 5-year capital, that it should be even, you know what I'm saying? It was not in the 5-year replacement
Well, there's a-
schedule, so how did it jump up to now?
yeah. Yeah, and. Yeah, no, there's detail in the capital for that particular vehicle.
Oh. I looked at it.
All right, we'll have them come, not a problem. You can talk about the vehicle that we're talking about replacing. I believe we have it. Do we have it?
It's a 98. I can go confirm.
You don't have it in the book here?
I do not.
Okay.
So that would be one I'd like to have some more information on. How old is it? What's going on? It hadn't shown up on their plan for the outlying 5 years, and now it's in for next year. So that was one thing I had earmarked to get some more information on.
Well, if it is a 98, okay, if
Well-
it is a 98, it's not being replaced until 5 years from now, which is 2025. So this is a vehicle that's going to go 25 years, not 20. So just
Okay.
keep that in mind.
All right. Well, that was my one question.
You do that, yeah.
It'll be 28 years old at 5 years from now.
And there's been times when we've saved up a couple of years and then we financed the rest of it, at an interest rate, to get a little bit more in advance, so. Okay, we'll ask the chief to be here tomorrow night. Roadways Department, you see the vac on catch basin cleaner. We're gonna start saving up for a central fueling system, which is replacing the underground tanks. And Dominic feels that it's time to begin to look at, facility improvements at the garage. They're old. And my plan was to, with the 25,000 that I've recommended, is to hire, somebody to analyze like we do with the schools, have somebody come in and take a look at it and make some recommendations with regards to what that building should look, come up with a plan that the council would consider and then decide whether you want to, move forward with it. His projection for what it would take to, for facilities is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that's no basis of that. It's just kind of picking a number out of the air without having somebody come in and assess the condition of the buildings, the condition of the roofs, the mechanical equipment inside, the needs of the department going forward, those kinds of items. The buildings there, some of them are pretty old. So at least planning for the future. So that's really for like an engineering study. So if you'd like to have Dom here tomorrow, you're certainly welcome to come as well. I'll take not hearing anything as you'd like to have him here.
I guess, they're-
Okay. A building,
There's always entertainment.
all right.
it's all the usual stuff.
Well, you tell me. I mean, if you don't tell me otherwise, then they're coming, so.
Yeah.
Buildings and grounds, replace the truck, I'll have all the details as far as, what we're replacing, but we'll have them here. Technical services, sidewalk repair and construction, recommending $240,000. And town facilities paving, is $240,000. Sidewalk repair is $150,000. The town facilities paving is the fire department paving, not the parking lot to the east, but the front entrance exit way for the large trucks, the road that goes along the side and the back and the rear parking lot, and as well as the police department parking lot. And those are severely cracked and need to be replaced. And we were going to use town aid road monies to offset that. So that's why you see $240,000 on the revenue side for a portion of the, capital improvement to support that, budget. So that's not really coming out of the general fund.
Madam Chair, I had a question on the sidewalk repair. What is the status of the funds that we had budgeted for this year?
How much do we have budgeted for this year, Rob?
Yep. 1 second.
I don't know.
Oh, I have it here. This year, we budgeted 105,000, and to date, we have spent 18,000 to date. But the construction season is just beginning, in a couple, hopefully soon in the spring. So,
And part of that goes to the consultant because we haven't paid the consultant yet for all their work. They still
correct.
That was somewhere around 20,000, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I believe it was 20,000. Yeah.
Right. And that was the system that was going to identify the sidewalks supposed to need.
Yeah, they got a slow start.
Yeah.
They were out in California, and they come back and there's snow on the ground.
Yep.
So they've done work in town. We haven't paid them anything because we don't have. I think we made a progress payment, but they're behind in their work. But I think that we're I feel pretty confident we have 150,000 plus in sidewalks that we can do based upon that. But we're reluctant to spend any money on sidewalks at this point in time until the work is, the sidewalk study is completed.
Right, that was, yeah.
What we are spending money on is if there's a trip hazard that, we become aware of, or a property owner says, hey, I want to put a new sidewalk and I want to take care of I want to take advantage of the 50/50 program. We've had several people say, I want a new sidewalk in front of my house. We tell them if, you'd have to wait until we prioritize it, but if you want to do it now, the town pays for half. That's a program we've had in place for several years, and there's people who have taken advantage of that. Okay, then we'll bring it's not a lot of staff, so let me just.
The engine is a 99, the next is a 2004, so right under 5 years.
All right. Anything else? I guess we're good for tonight. We covered pretty much we had.
Sure. Tomorrow,
Tomorrow is Board of Ed
Board of Ed and Capital.
and Capital. And any of those, well, we'll look at those, see what happens. We still have some other items that we've left open, so we'll decide what we're going to do with those, either tomorrow or another time.
Yep.
All right. Anything from anybody else right now? We're all set for tonight? All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.